My father was a Christian and my stepmother was a professed Christian. So they would walk around singing gospel songs. She especially would walk around singing gospel songs, quoting verses, and all this stuff was going on as I was being abused, physically abused. And then, at the time, sexually abused by my stepbrother. And it really set an image in my mind that was very warped of who God was. I mean, how could it not be warped? This woman walked around singing gospel music and quoting verses, and at the same time she'd beat me. So one night I'm using the bathroom and it was dark. I didn't want to wake all my brothers up. And all of a sudden I felt this blinding flash, man. I saw stars. I'm on the ground crying, screaming. What happened? She had turned on the light. She had taken a belt and swung a buckle in first. And it wrapped around and hit me in the face here. So I had the imprint of a bruise on my face, a perfect imprint of a bruise of a belt buckle. I mean, it was very clear what it was. And I was in first grade in New York, and she sent me to school the next day. Of course, that got the teacher's attention, right? Naturally. And next thing I know, I'm at the nurse's office. Principal comes over. Cops show up. My dad, they called him in from work at Eastern. He has to come in. What's going on? So now it was out. It wasn't a family secret anymore. It was out that I was being abused by my stepmother. And really by my father as well. He had to have known what was going on. I don't see how he could not have known what was happening, to some extent at least. The violence was inescapable. It didn't matter who my brother and I lived with, there was violence. It was just inescapable. When I was 8 years old, my uncle, who was also my father's brother, my father had a brother and sister. So my uncle began to abuse my brother and I sexually. He was raping us from about 8 years old to about 11 years old. We didn't tell anybody because he said, if you tell anyone, we're going to get in trouble. Well, I already knew what we're going to get in trouble meant because I watched what happened to my brother when he was 3. So I'm like, I'm not telling nobody. Cover up. Don't get caught. Right? Don't get caught. Because if we're going to get in trouble, my whole life I've lived with that. I've lived with this anger within myself. I had this view that God loved me enough to send his son to die on the cross for me. Like the way I could say my father did love me. I could see actions somewhat of love. But at the same time, it was a lot of anger. So I felt like, how could God have let all this stuff happen to me when I was young? And I couldn't defend myself. There was no one to pick up for me. So it was set in my mind that God, why would I ever trust God after that? There's no way I could trust God. So I started reading Dr. Timothy Jennings' book about a week before I came in here. And I started listening to his Audible book. His book, Could It Be This Simple, was the name of the book. His Audible book was The God-Shaped Brain. And this concept was like different to me. He was saying that God was there in the midst of the trauma. God was there. Things happen because this is a sinful, fallen world, and God gives people choices, doesn't force his love or his actions on us. So I told my wife, I'm like, I got to meet this guy. And the back of this book said he was up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I said, I'm going to jump on a plane and go fly to Chattanooga. I got to talk to this guy. I got questions for him. I'm like, you mean he's here at Honey Lake where you're at? Where I'm supposed to go in a week? He's there and he's teaching classes. This is better than any drug I've ever experienced. This is like real, genuine happiness and joy and peace that I've never felt. And I'm like, what is this craziness? This is crazy. And I'm like, I could have experienced this a long time ago if I'd understood and been willing to give this stuff up. It took me 57 years to get here. And I hope it doesn't take other people that long. And I'm most thankful for God's long-suffering patience. He waited for me to get to this point. So many times I could have died. So many times I tried to die. And God kept me alive for a reason. My purpose, I realized my purpose on earth is to serve others, to love God, and to let God's love flow through me out to others.